So I think it's fair to say that the Western Conference has been superior to the East for years. But this year, it just feels different. So many moves have been made this offseason, making this season as a whole incredibly exciting. With just a few days till opening night, I want to give you my predictions for the 1 through 8 seed standings for the Western Conference. Now, last week I did my predictions for the East, so if you guys haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. I'll leave a link in the description for you guys to watch. The Western Conference is already so much more different compared to last season, and it makes it harder for me to make these predictions because there are realistically 10 teams that could make the playoffs. But of course, I picked 8. Keep in mind that this all is my own opinion, so please don't judge me too hard. Anyway, with all of that being said, my name is Naz, and let's not waste any more time and jump right into the predictions for the Western Conference. Now, I was going back and forth between the Mavericks and the Spurs because a team with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis has plenty of potential, and I think that they will be a playoff team in the coming years. But I picked the Spurs to get the 8th spot for this year because, in my view, you just can't bet against Greg Popovich and his system. They've consistently made the playoffs for years now, and I just don't think that this season's going to be any different. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are two talented guys and both former All-Stars who did well last year. You also have DeJounte Murray coming back from injury, which is a big help for the Spurs. The only thing that I think that could hurt them right now is the lack of shooting. DeRozan and Aldridge are both great in the mid-range game, but they aren't really known for being that great at the three-point game, and that's super important in the NBA today. And if they can get someone off the bench who can shoot the three well, you know, they have Patty Mills, they have Marco Bellinelli, but if they can get like a spot-up shooter, I can't really think who, but if they can do that, then I don't see how this team with Popovich misses the playoffs. The Blazers are coming off of a great season, making the conference finals, and Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum continue to be an incredible backcourt duo. And Nurkic himself was also pretty good until he got hurt. But with a lot of West teams getting better on paper, it's going to be more difficult for this team to really make a stride like they did last year. The biggest moves they made was signing Hassan Whiteside, Pau Gasol, and drafting Nasir Little. These are good moves that might help this team a little bit, but they aren't the Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, or Paul George. This team, for the most part, is going to be Lillard and McCollum carrying the load, and I think that could hurt them. I'm honestly just curious to see how Whiteside and Gasol adjust with this team. I think that'll be interesting to see, because if they're able to adjust with this team well, then the Blazers might do well, and they might do better than 7. This team overall will see a drop-off though, I think, because the West is now more competitive than last year, and that only hurts them. And because of that reason, I expect them to be at the bottom of the top 8 for the Western Conference this season. After being dominant for so long, things are significantly different for the Warriors. It was a pretty good move on their part for getting D'Angelo Russell as a consolation prize for losing Durant, seeing that Klay is going to be out till at least the All-Star break. But they aren't at the top anymore. Now, they are nowhere near the bottom, but this season will be super interesting to see how this team moves forward after being a dynasty, honestly. If you've been watching the preseason, then you've seen that D'Angelo Russell will fit in just fine with this team, which is good news for them. But also, if you've watched that game against the Timberwolves, Curry dropped 40 in a preseason game. I genuinely think that he's teasing us with what he could do potentially this season. Now, I've predicted that he'll be in the conversation for MVP this season because there's such a big chip on his shoulder, and I think he knows that, and he'll be able to really show people that writing the Warriors off is absurd. The only reason I don't have them higher is because they don't really have a solid big man, and I think that it could hurt them in the long run, especially when they're playing against those top centers, the Embiids, the Karl Anthony Towns, the Jokic's, you know what I mean. But the Warriors are still a good team, and I think that Steph and D'Lo will keep this team competitive all year. The Jazz had a pretty solid offseason like I mentioned in my video with the sleepers. Adding Mike Conley makes him and Donovan Mitchell a solid backcourt that has a solid veteran and one of the top young guys in the league, and I think that duo is going to work out extremely well for the Jazz. Adding Bogdanovic might be another sleeper move because him and reigning Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert could be a good front court, and that's not to mention having Joe Ingles, which rounds up a starting five that looks pretty damn good. What I'm curious about is how Donovan Mitchell is going to improve off of the past 2 seasons where he did arguably get better and better. Also, Gobert is coming off of winning Defensive Player of the Year, so I'm also curious to see if he does enough that can help him actually repeat that award. Overall, the Jazz are a team that has incredible potential, and I think that we could be in for a surprise with how this team does in the regular season. Now look, you might not agree, but I think that a team with Westbrook and Harden together is automatically a contender in the conference. Now I get the main concern, and to an extent I agree with it. These are 2 ball dominant guys with only 1 ball to share. But even if you put aside that duo, look at the rest of the team, it's still really good. You have Capella, Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson, and more. Now, unfortunately, Gerald Green did get hurt and he's out for the rest of the season, but the other pieces that are around are still significant enough to give this team an edge. You also have the fact that Westbrook is, in my opinion, an upgrade from Chris Paul, just on the fact that Russ and Harden are good friends, and that alone, that chemistry alone, will make this team a little better. And I might be in the minority here, but I have faith that both of them will adjust their games to complement each other, and you have that along with the talented bench, makes this team a top contender in the West, and for that reason, I have them getting the 4th seed. The Nuggets are a team that surprised me last year with just how good they are. They sneakily became a contender, and since these guys are so young, they can be a contender for years to come as well. They have Michael Porter Jr. finally coming back this season, and they added Jeremy Grant and Bol Bol. And then you also have their main core, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Paul Millsap, and Gary Harris. That Murray-Jokic duo is one that is very underrated, and they proved last season that they're for real, and we need to start paying attention to these guys. They were 1 win away from the conference finals last year, and now that these guys all got a taste of some playoff basketball, there's no doubt that they will come back this year stronger and hungry to go further. I also think that they will be a fun team to watch, especially against the other top teams like the Lakers, Clippers, Bucks, and Sixers. They will do extremely well at home, and I think that alone puts them in the top 3. But I also think that they will be going toe-to-toe with the 2nd seed team and battling for that spot. The Nuggets are for real, and I think that we need to stop sleeping on them. To say that the Lakers are going to be one of the most watched teams this year is an understatement. We all know about the disappointment last year, and they moved forward by getting AD, and going off of the little that we've seen from them in this preseason, the Lakers are looking somewhat special. Dom2K made a great point in one of his videos where he said that we've known about AD and the Lakers all of 2019 essentially, so when the deal actually went through, it didn't really blow us away. But when you actually watch them play, that's when it starts to hit, and you're like, oh shit, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are on the same team together. LeBron looks like the LeBron we've known. He even brought back the headband and the chalk toss. And did you see that pass to Danny Green? How in the fuck did he pull that off? And Anthony Davis looks like he's fit in pretty well too, which is great for this team. He's going to be the focal point in the Lakers offense, so him quickly adjusting to the Lakers system is great news. You also have JaVale McGee, a big man who did really well last year, and it looks like he'll be doing the same this year. Also, in the little we've seen Dwight Howard play, he's not looking too bad either. And then you have other role guys like Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, and the greatest of all time, Alex Caruso. The Lakers are looking special, but there's one team that shares the Staples Center with them, and I think they will outdo them in the regular season. I still vividly remember the night that the Woj bomb came, and we found out about Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers. That alone was huge, But then you add that Paul George would be joining them, and we were all like, oh, okay, shit just got real. Now look, unfortunately, Paul George is going to miss the first couple weeks of the season, but even without him, this team is scary. Imagine being on offense and you run into Patrick Beverley, Kawhi Leonard, and Montrezl Harrell. I'd be quaking. You also add that Kawhi is going into the season healthier than he did at the start of last season. That's another scary sight. You also have Lou Will, the sixth man. This team without Paul George is already scary, but adding him is just the cherry on top. This talented group of guys, along with a great coach in Doc Rivers, is huge, and it will only make this team stronger. They are a top team on both sides of the floor, and I just don't see how anyone can stop them. And for that reason, I have the LA Clippers taking the #1 seed in the Western Conference. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Keep in mind that this is all based on speculation and it is all my opinion, so please don't roast me too hard. But feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Next week I will be posting a video about my predictions for the season awards, so be on the lookout for that. I'm recording this video 5 days before the season opener, and I can't tell you just how excited I am. We're almost here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, and please subscribe for more NBA content like this, and also turn on your notifications. Also, quick side note, please be sure to subscribe to my gaming channel. That will be also in the description for you to check out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.